Hey everybody, welcome to OnPodcast, the On Microsoft podcast, the only podcast for on Microsoft. So again, if you're looking for some other type of podcast, you're out of luck. I'm Kareem Anderson, your co-host tonight, and I'm joined with the world's greatest co-host.
Arif Bacchus.
Yeah, and we're here to talk about a crowd favorite, Windows 10. We have a Windows
Yeah.
10 heavy podcast, and so we'll just jump straight into what we're going to be talking about. Aside from that.
So, if you were paying attention this week and you follow Walking Cat on Twitter, who is one of the most notorious Microsoft leakers, he had a tweet that said the new Windows is coming soon. So, we'll talk about the new Windows coming soon as our first topic. And if you play Xbox, you might have noticed that your
Well, if you don't play Xbox, that's basically what this story is.
Yeah, Xbox Live went down for like 6 hours, which is like the longest time Xbox Live has gone down in a while. So we'll
Yeah,
get you up to speed on what you might have missed if you missed Xbox Live going down.
yeah, and then followed that up with some hardware news. Aside from Windows, we know you guys love hardware. I love hardware. Airflow loves hardware. So we're gonna be talking about Surface Laptop 4 predictions. We had some rumors come out about some AMD work that Microsoft's doing. So we'll jump right into that and see kind of how that dovetails into their own maybe eventual chip that they create their own. Create their own chipset.
And then let's not forget that Microsoft is all about the cloud now, and they launched three new Microsoft clouds, and they also have a new website creation service, which we want to get talking about.
Yeah, as a marketer, this is very interesting. So I'm going to ramble on about this one as well because it seems like a really cool idea. So we'll get into that, and then we'll get to do our favorite section, which is our specialty for this website.
The week ahead.
Yes, the week ahead. What do we got for the week ahead?
We have Microsoft Ignite 2021 coming up, so we'll give you a look at what we expect to be some emerging topics out of Microsoft Ignite, and then also it seems like every week now there's always something to say about Teams, and we could have a podcast just about Microsoft Teams, but we'll just recap some of the Teams things that we heard this week, and then also we have an update on our giveaway and a preview of an upcoming review of another Aukey product. And you have something you want to talk about too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I got gifted some dongles, some USB peripherals that I'm going to be attaching to my Surface Pro or some other devices. So I'll show those, once we get to that section. But if you're out there looking for ways to attach so many different things to your new, mobile workstation, we might have something for you. And with that being said, we will be jumping straight into our first topic, Windows 10 X.
Just let me get my hat on and get my hat
Yeah,
ready because it's a big moment for us to be talking about Windows 10X once more.
yeah. So let's just kind of get into it. As Arf kind of mentioned that we in the journal industry, in the tech industry, journalists in the tech industry, were all about a tizzy at the end of last week because of a series of tweets. One starting with from the Walking Cat, where he had mentioned that the new Windows was coming. He eventually clarified that a little bit, but before he had a chance to, kind of took off with other journalists such as Zach Bowden over at Windows Central. I believe Rich
Brad
Woods kind of
Sams,
jumped.
Brad
Brad
Sams was in there
Sims, yeah,
too.
yeah. A lot of people were going on this, and I don't think any of them are necessarily wrong. I just, I think, what we're about to get into is about the messaging of this. But anyway, the gist of it is that when Windows 10X, the new Windows, quote unquote, could be here as early as next month. I believe it is. Is that what they're saying?
Yeah, he was saying that the new Windows is coming next month, but he wasn't saying what the new Windows is. But if you follow Daniel Rubino on Twitter, he quoted Walking's Cat tweet, and then he mentioned that this is Sun Valley. This is not Sun Valley. This is Windows 10X, which led me into believing that, oh, maybe Walking Cat has seen some marketing information or seen something that's leading him to believe that, hey, maybe Microsoft might be talking about Windows 10X next month. But like you said, he clarified himself, which I'll let you get into his clarifications.
Yeah, he eventually said, I believe in quote, but maybe not next month. Meaning that the new Windows 10, he still references as the new Windows, which is, um, we might be pouring over the tea leaves a little bit too much as journalists, just because we're bored in quarantine and want to over-examine everything. But there's something to be said about using the term the new Windows, especially when you're marketing Windows 10X. They didn't do this for Windows 10S as a new Windows. They just kind of said it's a version of Windows. As we know, architecturally speaking, Windows 10X is not like Windows 10. It's a thinner, lighter version of Windows, or thinner, lighter version of the operating system of Windows. It keeps some of the visuals that we all know, but it's basically, kind of like Chrome OS, where it's built cloud first, a very thin client. So saying the new Windows for marketing material, as you're alluding to, is interesting. But again, he still kept with the new Windows, just not next month. So I'm always saying, and this is my own rant, that again, we haven't seen anything about Windows 10X. Microsoft hasn't even officially acknowledged it, aside from saying that it was postponed and shifted from dual screens to a single screen, and that was a year and a half ago, almost at this
Yep.
point. So for them to, be within a month or two or maybe three of releasing it, and we've tested nothing about it. I know it's seen anything about it. Is very interesting. This is kind of where I got into back and forth with everybody in our own chat. I'll let you jump in with your thoughts on it real quick.
Like I was saying, I know everyone is hyping up Windows 10X. We have a lot of naysayers who just think it's Microsoft copying Chrome OS because it strips out the 32-bit apps and it's only web only. I also Laurent too. He's like, oh, Chrome OS, Microsoft is just copying Chrome OS. But anyway, it's still something that's pretty exciting because usually when Microsoft doesn't like to talk about something, it's something that's hype that's going to be big. So I believe that their silence means that it's probably going to evolve into something a lot bigger than what they're saying it's going to be, because usually silence equates to, oh, we're working on it to perfect it and to make it great again or to make it better.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, we'll just get a little more details. Previous reports suggested the first Windows 10X coming this year at some point, if it's this spring or early fall, won't be able to launch legacy Win32 apps natively, though it might support it, in some follow-up versions at a later date. The other thing, and I believe this is where I kind of got a little confused by Zach, who's kind of been one of our big champions of Windows 10X in the industry, and he kind of clarified that when we were all thinking like, oh, this is going to be the new cool consumer operating system they're going to throw on a go-to, or something more future friendly and forward facing for consumers. He came out and kind of nixed that by saying this is going to be commercial based, and it's going to be given education, at least right off the bat. And now that they're saying it's going to be in a month or two, it seems kind of odd for the timing,
Right.
let alone, I mean, I guess you got to get ready for it for the summer. And it always seemed weird that Microsoft would release their operating system in like October, November after school started. So maybe they're changing the cycle on this and getting people ready for it. But right off the bat, this isn't going to be marketed to you or me. This is going to be marketed to schools and businesses. So I wonder how they're going to use this new Windows when people want old Windows, but better.
They're so quiet about it, and everything we know about it is just rumors or stuff that we're hearing through sources, unofficial sources. Like they're really hush hush about it, which is very unusual for Microsoft when it comes to Windows.
Yeah, well, I got a chance to play with the X1 Fold, and I owe you guys that review. Should be first thing this week coming up. And that thing screams Windows 10X, and not because I think Windows 10X is going to be great on it. It's just the way that device was designed. Windows 10 in its current state is doing it a disservice. The hardware on that thing is really awesome, but it is a touch first kind of operating system, despite it being that odd form factor. And so, with the way that Windows 10X is evolving, where they're saying, oh, we're pulling back from dual screens. We're going to, because again, the Fold is a foldable screen that has preferably two ways you can play with it or interact with it. We're going to single screen is a big step back. All these devices that were supposed to come out with it, even Microsoft's own Neo, it just seems like they're all over the place with where they want to position this. Although we know that they would have an emphasis on Chrome OS. Again, I've constantly said, and I believe you said this last week with Richard, or I guess last week, that Windows 10s should be their Chrome OS equivalent. Like, just the out of box experience for Windows 10 is getting really good. It's getting really refined, and I believe that is a big step towards having people feel like this is like Chrome, even if there's a bunch of legacy Windows stuff underneath. The feel of it is very Chrome-like, especially now that I'm testing a Chromebook. So I think with a few tweaks, Windows 10s would have been ready for this. Windows 10X, on the other hand, big question mark. They're not getting legacy app support. We don't know what the virtualization is going to be like. There's just all of this to say, like, oh, we're going to put this out and people are just going to suck this up and start using it for education. I'm not big on this. I'm still very, very bearish on this whole thing.
Maybe they've been quiet on purpose to just gather all of our feedback and like release like a brand new Surface designed for just Windows 10X. You never know.
That would be ideal. I'm optimistic because I like playing with new things, but again, I don't even think I'm gonna get a chance to play with it. They're gonna hand it off to someone at a school, like an IT admin, and be like, here, try flipping this on and see if it works for you guys. And then we'll be testing it in letter boxes on our own regular laptops and wishing for what could be.
In a virtual machine, like they leaked the build from a couple weeks ago.
Exactly, and that thing was what, over a year old too. Like, we haven't seen any real development on it. Like, it's one thing to be like, okay, well, you guys insiders it's going to take us a long time to get it to you, but they gave us a build that was almost, I felt like it was a year old. There wasn't any new features to it. It was just an easier way to get it on your device. So what have they been doing with Windows 10X in the last 365 days? It doesn't seem like very much. And there could be a lot more to be done. I mean, you got to play with it, more than I did. So what are your notes on changing it or fixing it?
It did seem a lot like just a port of the dual screen version. Like you said, I didn't see anything major change in between it. It's just like they copied it and then they pasted it to cater it for single screen devices. I just hope that with time that they've been tweaking it behind the scenes in one of their labs or one of their studios and have people who have a device with it and are catering to feedback, because when it does launch, people are just gonna slam them so hard and be ready with their feedback. Windows 10X is another failure.
Yeah, exactly. It's just it's pretty crazy. You know, I think we're beating a dead horse with this. All we know, at least, at the end of this, to surmise all this, is that Windows 10X is presumably coming this year, early in the year. Sounds like, if we're getting rumors, even if the rumors are getting pushed back from, the next week or so, from March to April or May, it's still relatively early in 2021 to start getting this. So, if they're delayed and we don't get it till fall, it's still an operating system that we haven't seen in almost 2 years, about to be released. So, keep your eyes out for it. As insiders, hopefully we'll at least start to see what we're going to talk about. Our next thing is, which is Windows, a little bit of Windows Sun Valley. Like, that's, again, not to be confused. These are two different things that are going on in the Windows world. And Sun Valley is the one I'm actually more excited for. Because, again, I think Windows 10X is going to come on new devices that I'm probably not getting a chance to play with. But Sun Valley should be coming to all of us with this, new design. We're starting, like I said, we see it in some apps, and I believe that's going to push Windows adoption even further than Windows 10X, at least right off the bat.
You mentioned in just now that Windows 10X is something that we've not seen or something that we're not seeing. It's something that we have not seen in a while is Xbox Live going down.
Oh, oh man, I'll let you run with this one for a second because I have to gather my thoughts on, you normally kind of the guy that's like, chill, everybody chill. Usually this gets resolved within an hour, maybe two, but I don't know what happened.
Yeah, a lot of people were quick to publish posts saying that Xbox Live is down. But this happens a lot, especially early on in the year when the pandemic first started. Their servers had a little bit of downtime on and off, and there was lag. But this week, last Thursday, Xbox Live was down for 6 hours from 3 p.m. Eastern all the way up until 9:30 p.m. Eastern. And a lot of people on Twitter were furious with Microsoft because they weren't able to sign in, they weren't able to play games, they weren't able to chat with their friends. And Microsoft was pretty quiet about it. And they had, of course, they have the Xbox status page where they were pointing people to go check for updates. And that page mentioned that there were core outages impacting account and profile, store and subscriptions, multiplayer and gaming, and cloud gaming. So it was a pretty huge outage that's not just impacting one core area of Xbox Live. It was big, 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 big. And a lot of us Microsofties, as we like to call ourselves, were wondering why is Xbox Live down for so long? Could have been a hack, could have been denial of service. And even now, it's Sunday as we're filming this podcast, and I believe Microsoft has not said much about why this happened.
There were other people, everyone just kind of had their own take on what was going on, why it was, down for so long. Believe there were a handful of people who were threatening to buy a PlayStation 5, like they could have gotten one in the time it was going to get fixed. But yeah, this is major, and in the shadow of xCloud coming, you don't want to have issues like this springing up constantly. This will put into question how well you can run your cloud service if your current service, which is pretty stable, pretty foundational, is starting to go down with stuff like this. Again, we'll hopefully Microsoft have some words for us in the coming week or two, kind of explaining what the outage was. Maybe they bought some servers from Amazon and that stuff went down to who knows. But yeah, for those of you, it should be back up, so you guys should be gaming as normal for the weekend. But we'll see if we have some follow up from the guys at the Xbox teams about what went down.
And now I'll let you get into our third topic because you're always so big about Surface. So now it's time to put
Yeah,
you in the spotlight with some rumors about a AMD version of a possible Surface Laptop 4.
yeah, I've been big on Surface Laptop ever since I bought one off of you, and I've been big on it before, but I've actually gotten a chance to really dig and use them more than just a review device with this one. And I've also been big on AMD as of recent. I think they're doing some great things, especially with their current Ryzen thing. So both of those things intersect in this story where it's rumored, and this is, I believe, a follow-up from Geekbench listing that there's a Reno, Renor,
Yep.
Renoir. No, I pronounce that. Renoir, however you pronounce it. Whoever knows that, correct us. Um, that there's a device called that, and it's based on a Z2 CPU and Vega GPU microarchitectures. Um, and so this laptop 4, if and when it does come out, could potentially have an AMD Ryzen 5 listed in it, at least as a minimum. I think they could be even higher than that. But one thing that should be noted is that AMD Ryzen 5s are already in Surface Laptops 3. So I believe others are, not only ourselves, but others are saying that this could just be a placeholder for right now, and that there will be some updated Ryzen chip that will be placed in the Surface Laptop 4. And again, this isn't a far-fetched story. This isn't like, we're throwing a bunch of grain of salt in this, because Microsoft has already said that they're going to continue working with AMD for future devices. They have partnered long with the Xbox Series X, S, and Xbox One. So they have some history with AMD, and I believe that they're going to be doing that. We also believe that they might be doing this for the Pros at some point, with the Pro 8 consumer version versus the Pro 7, which is just an Intel upgrade. There's belief that we have more configurations to go with the Pros as well. That could include AMD. So again, in this upgrade with the Ryzen 5 3580U, You're supposed to be getting a little bit more graphics support to, just kind of push some of those pixels across the screen a little faster. But again, and as far as my testing with AMD's chips as of like the last 2 years, they've, again, normally on average run cooler, quieter, and tend to be less expensive. So hopefully we'll see that translate. I know last year it didn't really. You bought an AMD and they were about the same price as an Intel, if not more for some reason. Maybe hopefully Microsoft has gotten that pricing structure down. So for those of us who are power users and need the Intel ones, you pay a little bit more for those, and you get those what is it, Iris XC graphics or whatever. And for those of you who are just average, I say, YouTubers or videographers, things like that, you can go get yourself an AMD for maybe 200 or 300 or 400 bucks less.
Again, this whole thing is just based off of a Geekbench listing, which anyone could manipulate a device Geekbench to make it think that the device name that you see, and we usually people pick up on this when they see companies testing laptops before they're released. It's happened before in the past. It's happened with the Surface Pro 7 Plus, which we thought would have been the Surface Pro 8. It appeared on Geekbench, and it also happened with the Surface Laptop 3 when before it was released. That also appeared on Geekbench. So there is a lot of reason to believe that this AMD Surface Laptop 4 is true, but only the listing is kind of sketchy because it mentions the 3580U, which is what is already inside the Surface Laptop 3. But those other parts of the listing, it mentions a AMD CPU with 6 cores and 12 threads, which is something that the current Surface Laptop 3 does not have. So again, it's just speculation, and it seems like Microsoft is again teaming up with AMD on Surface Laptop 4, and I'm hyped for it because I've tested AMD Lenovo laptop before, and it ran circles around whatever Intel has going on right now. So there's a lot of reason to be excited, even if it's just a Geekbench listing.
Yeah, like I said, it's the AMDs that I tested for Lenovo, hardly the fan would come on, and like so if they can, you know, presumably still build these laptops, these Surface laptops as thin as they can, but just more quiet and cooler, and squeeze a little bit more out of the integrated GPU, because I know AMD's, the ones I've tested, have had pretty good integrated GPUs with them. This is a win-win for all of us. So all we need now is for them to launch the Surface Laptop 4 this year. That's the other thing to keep in mind, is that Microsoft's Surface lineup has always kind of been erratic as far as when they do upgrades and when they release new devices. Sometimes they'll release a new device at the beginning of summer, and then do it just an upgrade in the fall or whatever. So we're hoping, get our fingers crossed, that there will be a Surface 4 in 2021, but it could, they could do what they're doing with the Surface Pro 8 and launch this thing first quarter of 2022. So who knows? There's a lot that's in the air, but it's presumably at some point they'll launch it.
So we covered Surface, and we covered Xbox, and we covered Windows 10X. Those are all fun stuff that everyone is here to hear about. So now let's get into the quote unquote boring cloud stuff.
Yeah, keep listening, but you can get up and go get coffee or something like that. But keep us in your ear. Microsoft announced that it's launching 3 new Microsoft clouds, and these clouds will be centered around. Make sure I got this right. Um, Industry-specific cloud offerings. So we'll have one for financial services, manufacturing, and nonprofits. 3 pretty big areas. These industry clouds will be bundled together. Will bundle together APIs and industry-specific components of Microsoft's own services, such as Azure, Dynamics 365. Kind of those backends, to make it easier for companies to kind of grow their businesses. And this seems to be the big thing. And I believe I wrote about this maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, about the different approaches that Microsoft and Amazon are taking, despite them being both in the cloud game, and how Microsoft's winning in its own trajectory and not necessarily kind of, the apples to apples comparison everyone likes to make about AWS, which is, a monster in its own right. But Microsoft is doing this templated um, approach to cloud. And I always compare it to like someone, who has a designer, who an artisanal designer to build their website and can kind of craft every bit of it and, build it on Linux and come up with all these cool new features for it that are very unique to it, or go over to Squarespace. And I believe Microsoft is becoming the Squarespace of the cloud.
Yeah.
And and there's a benefit to that. There's a reason why Squarespace is a multi-billion-dollar company, because they offer, even though most of this stuff is templated, it offers people an easy way to get into the cloud and get going quicker. So with these new clouds, you won't necessarily need to have a cloud IT dedicated person. You can just say like, I am in this business, give me that cloud, and I will take all of the features that come with it, which is kind of smart.
They also have something about a new website creation service too to take on Squarespace.
Yeah, speaking of Squarespace and Wix and WordPress, even for that matter, Microsoft has created. Let me show you the title down. The Digital Marketing Center. And what this is it's, again, I wrote it as, it's not a new idea coming from Microsoft, but it's a way to kind of get people essentially using their advertising platform, but giving them the tools to create a quick website. So if you're, small business moving from Facebook as like your primary way of interacting with your customers, your clients, you can, not only scale by going to Azure, but Microsoft will give you the tools to basically plug and play all your information from Facebook into a dedicated website that'll, also have the backends for um, um, e-commerce and shopping platforms, things like that. And what it does, and this is where I said that there's a bait and switch, is that the tools are free. The website platform is free, like hosting on it is free, but you need to have these integrated with Microsoft Ads in order to get all of the full breadth of metrics that that come with it. Things that are for like your retention, your customer growth, conversions and sales and leads and all that kind of stuff. These all tie into Microsoft Ads. And so with Microsoft still being, the far distant number two in advertising, this is a quick way to kind of juice some of those numbers and get people who, need a website, want to use the cloud, and and like I said, as a marketer myself, want to spend less on their marketing budget, because for the leads that you get in Google, you can probably get those similar leads for like 3 times less in Microsoft Ads, just because the volume isn't there. So the other things that you'll be able to kind of include, design wise from this, or at least kind of tweak yourself, are headlines and descriptions on various pages, call to action buttons, send an email, contact us, support and things like that. You'll be able to create a cover image. You'll be able to obviously have a business summary, be able to have integrated social posts. So you'll be able to post from your website, or you can also, which is kind of cool, schedule posts or content from your website to go out to your social media platforms. So if you want to post once on there and send it out to Facebook or Twitter, you'll be able to do that. You'll be able to bring in reviews. I'm not sure if you'll be able to bring in Google reviews, probably not. But you'll also be able to carry or keep up a gallery of images. If you're like a restaurant, you want to show off your menu, or if you're a clothing store, want to see your inventory, business contact, or social links. So again, basically anything that you could have created for a WordPress site, you'll be able to kind of manipulate here. I got a chance to play around with some of the templates. They're very basic. I'm sure if you reached out to Microsoft for one of their support guys, you can kind of walk through edging some of the design. But again, these are for people who don't have the time or don't have the budget for a designer, or at least for a full-time marketing agency. This is really a cool, quick way to kind of get up and going.
It's not designed for people like you and me, like the average fanboy, right?
Well, it depends. To be honest with you, it could be, especially if you don't have the time. Like, you and I are busy, mostly creating content versus like, ingesting content and designing. So if we just need to, for like maybe this podcast itself, and just, thankfully Kip's done an amazing job. But if we didn't have a Kip, or if nobody has that, and you're just kind of a single blogger, this actually could be great for you because not only would you uh, have access to Microsoft Ads, you'll be able within Microsoft Ads, you have also have access to LinkedIn contacts through Microsoft Ads. So you'll be able to network while you're also kind of um, basically building up your profile, and you won't have to worry about, oh, let me make sure I have this like gradient effect on my, on my cover page, or that I have a what's the effect that you have when you kind of scroll over something. Apple uses a
Hover,
lot.
the hover effect.
I forget. Yeah, there's a term for it. Again, I'm not a designer, so this might be great for me. But yeah, it'll be great for stuff like that. Just to make sure that you can get your content, which you probably have mounds of, put it somewhere, have it look professional, and then have it network to everywhere. So this is, it could be great for you, a person like you or myself.
And with that said, that is our last topic, which means it's time for our traditional week ahead segment.
Yeah, I'll let you run off with this one. I'll let you start.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about Microsoft Ignite next week a lot, which it runs from March 4th to March 6th. So for you guys who aren't familiar with Ignite, it's their annual developer and IT professional event. So we're warning you ahead of time. Stay tuned to On Microsoft next week for a lot of news coming out of Ignite. You can expect for Microsoft to talk about Teams, Azure, probably even some developer news for Windows. But I saw Alex Kipman, who created HoloLens and who's the visionary behind HoloLens. He tweeted about how you'll be able to join the opening keynote with Satya Nadella in mixed reality, which is pretty cool. So I'm thinking, hey, maybe they might have something to say about the future of mixed reality, even if it's just for work and it's not for consumer. Keep an eye out. Maybe they have some mixed reality news for us.
Yeah, it's you're the one. You have your mixed reality headset, right?
Samsung. Yep. Yep.
Samsung's mixed reality headset. So it'll be interesting to see Nadella up close, I guess, or in three dimensions, and have him talk about machine learning and AI once again. Again, we talked last week with, I guess, Richard about Ignite and how I believe that they're starting to, at least from based on the uh, the session breakouts, that they are starting to separate Ignite into more uh, cloud and commercial versus what they used to kind of have as not a mix, but at least a 60-40 blend of Windows and how to kind of get to the cloud. Now it seems like they, at least with these digital platforms and and being able to kind of hone in on their audience, or say they're cutting out some of those platform jumpers and just saying this is the cloud. If you're already working in it, these are the tools, these are the sessions, these are the notes that you'll need going forward. It doesn't mean that they won't necessarily have another one that is again more consumer-ish, or at least front-facing, client-facing, or they may just bundle this into build and kind of figure out a way to delineate these two. Because again, when we used to do in person, they kind of had to have a big net to catch everything and kind of
Yep.
do that. But now that they're breaking out digitally and they're going to be planning to do these throughout the year, they can say, hey, this is for the AI cloud guy. This is for the machine learning cloud guy. This is for the Powers BI cloud guy. And they can do those per month.
Of course, you could visit the Ignite 2021 website and sign up. It's free. All you need is a Microsoft account, and then you could build your own schedule and view all of these sessions right from the comfort of your own home, like Richard was talking about last week. We did some of the math for you, and there are 10 different sessions about mixed reality. There's 16 sessions which relate to Windows, and Panos Panay, who heads the Windows team, he's holding a special fireside chat on recent Windows innovations for commercial consumers. That is on March 2nd at 10:32 a.m. to 1:46 a.m. Eastern Time. So keep tuned for that. And then there are also sessions about Teams, Viva, and Edge. I counted about 86 sessions which mention Microsoft Teams, and 3 about Edge, and 7 different sessions about Viva. So if you love Microsoft 365, Ignite is something that you do not want to miss.
Yeah, and before we do our segue into the next section, which I just probably stomped all over, I want to kind of step back and say that keep an eye on the panels one because the wording of his fireside chat has me believe that this will actually be beneficial for anybody who's got any predictions about Windows 10X. Because as we mentioned at the top of the pod, um, this is Microsoft, at least from what all indications are showing, that they're intending this to be a commercial play, Windows 10X. So he's talking about innovations and he's talking about all the things that have come to Windows. I'm sure he's going to say this is how they've all led to whatever
The
Windows
new
10X might be.
Windows. The
The
new
new
Windows.
Windows. Yeah, they might not even call it Windows 10X. So the new Windows. So again, keep that particular fireside chat marked in your calendar once you register.
And that means now it's time. We mentioned Teams at Ignite, but Teams, there was a lot of new stuff this week. I'll have the links in the comments so you could check it out. So we're just here to quickly speed through some new Teams things this week. First of all, meetings will prioritize participants who have video feeds. That's one change.
So
Another
all of you
change.
hiding, all of you turning your cameras up and hiding, can't do that anymore. At least not if you want to be recognized.
And then another change, tasks in Planner and Microsoft Teams are getting support for 25 labels and colors. So now your manager will be able to color your tasks and make them all red and make sure that you're still on your flows. And then third up, Microsoft Teams will soon let users share their Meet Now links without starting a meeting, which is
That's
important.
huge.
Which is important for getting more people into using Teams.
Yeah, we had kind of in our own Teams chat, ironically, for our publication, talked about how big this is and how this is something that's coming out almost to the date a year late. When Zoom kind of took off and became a household name, it was, I would say, on the back of this ability. I know that they added it in Skype relatively quickly, like I would say right before the summer hit, but it's Skype. Come on, let's be honest. No one's Skype was a distant third in the conversation during the height of the pandemic. So I'm glad they're adding this. I just want to make sure everyone noted that this is almost a year late. So in all of the mind share, not market share, but mind share that Zoom has, a lot of it because of this. So hopefully they can get some of this back with this feature in particular.
And then, who doesn't love reacting to messages in Teams? Currently, there are only 6 generic ways that you could respond to stuff. I think it's surprised, love, sad, or hangry, or happy, or whatever.
Yeah,
So, six emojis. Well,
and the thumbs
soon
up.
Microsoft is adding a range of new emojis to Teams. They're also planning custom emojis and emoji reactions, but that is still under review. So yeah, that's a look at some of the new things coming for Teams this week and in the week ahead. And now, time to get to the fun stuff, which is reviews and hardware and dongles.
Yeah, I will start off our review section about next week is with a company called Juiced, who sent us, me in particular, tons of dongles to try with the Surface Pro 7 Plus that I am reviewing right now, and it came right in time. This one looks to be a regular Quad H UV USB-C 3.2 dongle, which has two USB-As and two USB-Cs. Connects through a USB-C as well. I also got the more specific Surface Pro dongles. This one has, I believe, an Ethernet hookup for it. So for those of you in the office that need that, or that are hardwired in, you'll be able to connect that. And then I got I believe the one I'm probably gonna be using the most, which is the optics adapter. Um, and it says it's designed for Surface Pro 6, but because these two were very similarly made, it should work for the Surface Pro 7. And this one has your card reader, USB-A, USB-C, two USB-As, I believe, and an HDMI as well. Again, this one I believe I'll be testing out. And I'll be having my Surface Pro 7 review should be out, I believe, at the end of next week as well. So those are all the things I got. What do you got for us?
That's not all. We tweeted about this a couple of days ago, but Aukey is still running their special giveaway with us where you could win one of their EPT31 earbuds. So be sure to join our giveaway. We have a couple entries right now. We'll announce the winner live on the show next week. So keep tuned and stay and be sure to enter our giveaway. And I'm also reviewing another one of their earbuds. You probably saw me tweeting about it. They're EPN7 wireless earbuds, which come in a little cute case, and they're a lot like AirPods, and they have noise cancellation, and they're water resistant and sweat resistant. It's pretty awesome. So be sure to stay tuned for that review next week too.
Yeah, and like I mentioned, I have my Chromebook first impressions coming out, and in the light of all of our Windows 10 conversations, I'm going to be judging this as harshly as I can because it's Chrome OS. But so far, it's actually been a pleasure to use. So we'll see if Windows 10X can compete.
And also, we want to tease that we have a special guest coming on our show next week. You guys probably seen Maurice Gonzalez. He's one of our writers, so he'll be joining us on the show next week, and we'll be talking about, as usual, Windows 10, Windows 10, Windows 10X, developing and stuff that developers use. So be sure to stay tuned to us next week.
Yeah, if you're a developer and want some inside information, some of the workings and outs, or the pitfalls of developing, that should be a good pod.
And that about does it. We're all out of things to talk about this week. So let you do our traditional outro.
Yeah, again, I am at Mindhead1 at Twitter, the only Mindhead. Don't follow the other Mindhead or any ones subsequently. And you are?
A back germ.
Yeah, we would, again, appreciate all forms of communication because, again, we're all always searching for new ideas, new thoughts, follow-ups as well, because again, we probably make tons of mistakes on here, and we would love to, eventually have some of you guys join the pod. So you can reach out to us from the website, from onmicrosoft.com, or you can reach out to us via our Twitter handles, and we'd love to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, thanks for watching, everyone, and see you again, same place, same time.
Have a great week. Stay safe, wear a mask, and hopefully we're almost at the end of this.
Yep. Take care.